Wilt Chamberlain and Shaquille O'Neal, perhaps the most iconic physical specimens the game of basketball has ever seen. Unstoppable, unguardable behemoths that could destroy anyone in their paths. Some players like Kareem, Jordan, and Steph are also known to be unstoppable, but more for their skilled shot making, not being physically unguardable. LeBron and Giannis stick out as guys near that level, but neither ever reached it. Shaq and Wilt are the most dominant players in NBA history, but who is number one and who is number two? Wilt is probably the single most athletic human being to ever live, at least that we have on camera. He stood at 7'1" barefoot, and by the middle of his career, he was 300 pounds of solid muscle. He had a 7'8" wingspan, ran the 40-yard dash in 4.4 seconds, had a high jump of 6'6", had a 50-inch vertical, and could bench press 600 pounds. Alright, Wilt's feats of athleticism are a little exaggerated. In fact, more elements of his life were exaggerated. Redditors confirmed a while back that his vertical was probably more around 40 inches, and there's no evidence of him ever benching 600 pounds, though we do know that he had absurd strength. Multiple reports existing of him picking grown men up off the basketball court. And by the way, that 40-inch vertical would still make him the highest sleeper at the center position on record. So he probably isn't an ethereal being from another universe that some of his story suggests, but he still is the most athletic big man to ever walk the earth. Shaq, however, was no slouch athletically, and is one of the most remarkable physical specimens sports have ever seen. I'm just going to say Shaq was 7'1". Apparently he said that he was 6'11" at one point, and you're probably asking what happened to that footage. Well, I don't know, it's gone now. In this clip where Wilt tries to rip his arm out of his socket, he's clearly shorter. Maybe something to do with shoes or slouching. Hey man, NBA heights are confusing. What is true is that by his primed LA days, he was around 320 pounds. He didn't look like it, and absolutely didn't move like it. Shaq's nimbleness for his size is perhaps the most remarkable thing about him, and a huge reason why he was able to dominate. He also had a 7'7" wingspan, up to a 36-inch vertical, and could reportedly bench as much as 500 pounds. In his Orlando days, he was also a lot faster and even more agile. Essentially, these guys were the tallest guys on the court on most nights, were easily the biggest guys on the court most nights, and were arguably the most athletic players on the court every night, and were stronger than everyone else. Every night. Alright, Timmy, go get 'em. Now before we get into everyone's favorite thing, stats, I want to talk about a few comparisons of the two. Firstly, it would be ill-advised of me to pretend like all these guys did was dunk. They both had elite footwork for what they were asked to do. Both had great touch for big men, Shaq possessing a great hook shot, while Wilt had a great finger roll and essentially pioneered the fadeaway. And both were good passers for their position, especially Wilt. Yes, these guys were physical freaks, but I don't want it to seem like that is the only reason why they were so dominant. They both absolutely sucked at free throw shooting though. They also both had giant egos, interestingly enough. Wilt obsessed over stats and was known to scold teammates if they missed shots that would have gone to his assist numbers, while also being known to take nights off on defense occasionally. And Shaq, well, him being on TV, you know that.
I have 4 rings. I have 4 rings, and you got 4 of them. I got 4 rings. So 4 things that you will never see.
One last thing to note, and the reason why these guys are the most dominant players in history, was how their dominance inspired change. Wilt was so broken that the lane was widened, offensive goaltending became a thing, and players were no longer allowed to dunk from the free throw line. Yeah, you heard that right. He was dunking the ball from the free throw line. This man was from another planet. As for Shaq, his impact on the game is pretty comparable. Everyone knows that the basket is pretty essential to the game of basketball, so when Shaq is doing this and this, you kind of need to stop that. He also is responsible for different fouling penalties being introduced because of teams' tendencies to purposely hack him to put him at the line, and also is very influential in the return of zone defense in the NBA. Now, let's go look at the stats. Wilt is the record book, and I could make a whole video, which I probably will in the future, about his records. But here are some of the most notable things about Wilt. Wilt had a season averaging 50 points per game, and another season averaging 27 rebounds per game. Both of those are records. He retired as the all-time leader in scoring and rebounding, and is still top 10 in scoring, and will likely never be passed for rebounds. He is, for now, the only center to lead the league in assists, and is in fact the only player to ever win a scoring title, rebounding title, and assist title in his career. And you can probably throw in several phantom blocks titles too, because he averaged about 9 blocks per game in 112 independently tracked games. He's mere decimal points away from being the all-time leader in points per game for a career, and is the all-time leader in rebounds per game for a career as well. He also had the second most scoring titles, and by far the most rebounding titles, all while leading the league in field goal percentage 9 times. But Wilt was a bum that played against a bunch of 5'4" plumbers. First off, nuh-uh. Second off, he played against Bill Russell, the other top 5 center of his era, 143 times, and though past his prime, played a young Kareem another 27 times. That's 14% of his career facing another top 5 center of all time, and shockingly, there were other Hall of Fame big men running around. For reference, Larry and Magic faced off just 37 times, for about 3% of their career games. If you brought this point up, you aren't concerned with competition, you are trying to disingenuously cut down Wilt. Now, whatever I say for Shaq is automatically not going to live up for what Wilt did, so keep that in mind. For the first 11 seasons of his career, Shaq averaged 27.6 points per game, 12.1 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game, and 2.6 blocks per game on 57.7% shooting. He won 2 scoring titles in that stretch, and for his career led the league in field goal percentage 10 times. In 2000, he was 1 vote shy of being the first unanimous league MVP and second in Defensive Player of the Year voting. He's still top 10 in all-time scoring and block shots, and is number 16 on the all-time rebounding list. Both had 3 seasons with a PER of 30 or more, with Shaq having a slightly higher career PER, while Wilt held the single-season record for 60 years. The only other advanced stat that Wilt had was win shares, and he blows Shaq out of the water in that department, in both number and rate. So it seems pretty cut and dry. The gap in statistical ability is just too great. Wilt is the most dominant player in NBA history. Not so fast there, cowboy. You're forgetting something. Wilt might be the biggest playoff dropper the sport has ever seen. Well, actually, we'll put him at number 2 because nasty man over there, but that's it. Accounting for his 1962-63 season where he missed the playoffs entirely, Wilt's career averages are at about 28.8 points per game, 22.8 rebounds per game, and 4.5 assists per game. His efficiency remains roughly the same at about 54% from the field and 50% from the line, and he's taking about 21.5 shot attempts a night. In the playoffs, Wilt's averages end up being 22.5 points per game, 24.5 rebounds per game, 4.2 assists per game, and he takes just 17.1 shots a night, with efficiency dropping to 52.2% from the field and an abysmal 46.5% from the line. He led the playoffs in scoring just once, rebounding 6 times, assists once, and field goal percentage twice. Wilt played in 27 playoff series, and just 7 of them saw him average more than 30 points per game. And I don't want to make it seem like Wilt was always putrid in the playoffs. He scored 50 twice, and he holds just one of 4 40-plus rebound playoff games, Russell having the other 3. And in his 1967 title-winning playoff run, he averaged 21.7 points per game, 29.1 rebounds per game, and 9 assists per game on nearly 58% shooting en route to his team routing Boston. For Shaq, excluding his rookie year, he posted averages of 23.7 points per game, 10.6 rebounds per game, and 2.6 assists per game on about 58.4% shooting from the field and 52.3% shooting from the line on 16.1 shots a night. His playoff numbers go to 24.3 points per game, 11.6 rebounds per game, 2.7 assists per game on 56.3% shooting from the field and 50.4% shooting from the line on 16.8 shots a night. A sacrifice of some efficiency for more aggressiveness and pure production. And even there, the overall loss in efficiency still isn't as bad as Wilt. Advanced stats also remain pretty steady for Shaq, something you can't say about Wilt. Shaq also dominated the finals, posting these ridiculous averages. Oh, but his competition was so bad. Wait a minute. I did this last time. Yes, Todd McGullich wasn't Hakeem Olajuwon, but this is Hakeem Olajuwon, and this is what a young Shaq averaged against him. Pretty good if I had to say so. Now sure, if he had to go up against Chet Holmgren, maybe Shaq averages 37 instead of 38. Point is, nobody is stopping this man from averaging whatever the heck he wants. So what is my goal here? Try to tear down Wilt and expose him as a playoff choker that he is? Not really. Expose that one guy is the same to slightly better come postseason while the other guy is noticeably worse? Sure, but I don't want to tear him down. By his attempts and opponent testimony, Wilt did become more passive, and to be fair to him, he did consistently face Boston, which by no means stopped him in the regular season, but definitely affected him more than other teams with their deep defensive personnel anchored by the greatest defender the sport has ever seen. For now, at least. Wilt's playoff demons were self-inflicted by a lack of shots. Not really much else. Now, here's my cheap little answer. I think they are both the most dominant. There will never be a player that comes anywhere close to Wilt's level of statistical dominance. Add that regular season asterisk to it like I did, and guess what? It still doesn't change the fact that he was doing stuff like this. Shaq, on the other hand, is the most physically imposing and dominant player the sport has ever seen. I think it'll be a good long while before anyone takes that crown from him. The statistical king and the physical king. And honestly, I think both Wilt, who didn't want to be viewed as this physical, bruising big man, but a guy with skill, and Shaq, a guy who pretty clearly wants to be remembered for his physical dominance, would like those independent grounds. I do think Wilt is the better player, largely because he's more athletic and a better passer. I also think Shaq's playoff performance needs to be considered. If you are still on the fence because Wilt's stats are too great for you to ignore, let me pose this hypothetical to you. If you believe Wilt and Shaq switch places in NBA history, do you think it is more likely that Wilt surpasses everything that Shaq did, or that it is more likely that Shaq comes close to matching what Wilt did? I know my answer. What's yours? Thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, and checking out this video where I rant about the Green Bay Packers and how they lost horribly in the postseason. Have a great day, everybody.